welcome back to my channel. We're laughing because we've been talking for like probably a half an hour.
I think more like an hour.
Maybe even, about the ketogenic lifestyle. If you are coming here from Serein's channel to watch part 2, hi and welcome. If you haven't already met me, which you have if you're coming from Serein, you've been listening to me for an hour. Okay, great. But if you're coming because you know me or you're watching this channel, stop, pause, go to go to Serein. I was like, Serein's channel. Go to Serein's channel and watch part 1 of this video because we go over so much incredible, valuable information. We're talking about the ketogenic lifestyle, which is incredibly popular right now, which is both good and bad, right? Because there's a lot of misinformation out there. It's also good because now it's much more widely acceptable as an ideology in the first place, which is great. For those of you who don't know and are new, I've been living a ketogenic lifestyle for I did it for 5 consecutive years. I took a break last year just to basically prove to myself that it was the right choice for me and my body. And after a year of just being incredibly frustrated and working so hard trying to do an if it fits your macros lifestyle, I switched back to keto and I'm happier than ever and yielding all the results that I had for those last 5 years. So now I'm into the 6th year of my journey, really. And what's great is that Serein, my longtime friend on YouTube and in real life, has recently adopted this lifestyle. For how long have you been doing it?
I'm on week like 6.
Great. So please watch part 1 of this video. We'll go into a lot more things. So forgive me if you haven't watched part 1, that's on you and not us. And we're just gonna keep rolling with the thoughts and questions. So let's get started.
So we ended my video with, can I do this on I have a history of liver problems. Yeah. And that was my biggest concern because there's this like perception that ketogenic diet is very hard on your liver.
Yes.
And I didn't want to do anything to damage my liver because it's already kind of, I've already been born with like some shit against it.
Sure.
So, that's like I guess that's my biggest question. After my research, I'm still doing it, but why don't you explain why for those?
So, I think there's 2 reasons why people think that this can be damaging for your liver. One, people tend to equate livers with synthesizing fat and like a fatty liver. Mm-hmm. Even if you think about like foie gras and like ducks, and they give them so much fat and to try and fatten them up so they can get a really fatty liver to make that product. I don't really care about going into the moral things about that. They're not getting fed fat to make them fat. They're actually getting fed grains to make their livers fatty. They're being force-fed down their gullets grains. The same reason why cows and things that are fed grains, any sort of animals are fed grains, like that's why we feed them grains, to make them bigger and fatter. And like meat companies, they get paid like per cow by the pound. Like, okay, I'm gonna get so many pounds of this, and so they fatten them up so that they can get more money for their cows, even though that fat's not gonna be usually eaten by the consumer. They're still paying for the weight of the cow. So that's why they get fed grains. So it's actually a history of grains that have made their bodies and livers in particular fatty. The other reason why people tend to think that it could be dangerous for your liver is a risk of ketoacidosis, which is when your kidney can't handle the amount of protein that it's being asked to synthesize and process. And that goes hand in hand with the common misconception that a low-carb diet is a high-protein diet. And in actuality, if you're coming from Serein's channel, you would know a keto lifestyle is actually only 20 to 25% of your calories are coming from protein. So there's really...
I'm going to see how much I actually have mine set to.
There's actually little to no chance, I want to say like no chance, of you eating to the point of risking ketoacidosis if you're doing ketogenic lifestyle correctly. Like there's just no way. You should be getting about...
Yeah, mine's 20%.
Yeah. Because you're probably doing 70% fat, 20% protein, 5% carbs, right?
Yeah, 75% fat. Did you say 75?
I said 70.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what I meant though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So...
And then where the wiggle room is you can put that extra 5 towards protein if you want. So if you wanted to do 70-25...
Which is what I kind of end up doing.
And that's fine. There's wiggle room in there. The main thing is that you want to stay in that 5%-ish. give a little, fine, okay, you're not gonna die, but and under 10 you want to be on point. But there's no risk of that with keto. I mean, if you're eating too much protein, then you're doing it wrong. Person-based issue, not a diet-based flaw. Does that make sense?
And that's why I say the first few weeks use your MyFitnessPal
so you know
tracker.
yeah.
But now I know, like, I'm just gonna, I'm okay with eating more fat. It's easier for me to eat more fat than protein because it's just easier to make. Like, an avocado with your amazing seasoning over it.
I just had that yesterday. It was so good.
Which is why I'm thinking about that. I was like, that's a great snack. Or like a handful of macadamia nuts as a snack, or a thing of string cheese, or I like to make salami and, well, I guess that, so salami is protein, but it's got fat in it.
But the ratio is okay. The thing that people struggle with who are coming from a lifetime of being told low fat, low fat, low fat, low fat, fat's the devil, is that they're just not accepting of this idea that now you're running on a different source. So once you get on board with that, then you have to like break all your natural habits of like, we had burgers today for lunch and I made sure to find the highest fat that I could at the store. The most common one I can see is like 80-20, and I couldn't find that. I just found 85-15, which is fine, but like back in the day when I was trying to be low fat, I'd be like 99% lean. Like, and you have to break those habits.
If you're gonna try any diet, give yourself 30 days and then reevaluate at the end of 30 days, but do it right the first 30 days.
Yeah, be strict with yourself, yeah.
And we say that because the first week, anyone can do anything for a week. So if you wanted to like only eat lettuce.
You're giving people a lot of credit.
Well, no. Juice cleanses, like like you can suffer for a week and make it through. And that's kind of what we did. And then week 2, you're like, damn, I really miss food. Like, and it wasn't that we missed food, we just couldn't, we now had to go beyond the suffering and figure out how to make food.
How to just become a lifestyle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think you have to give yourself a month when you try to adjust, and then that's when I've decided, like, I'm gonna keep doing this for until I reach my goal, and then I'll have my first cheat time in that moment. And by cheat time, I mean like a meal.
I kind of stole this from Brittany Dawn. She's also on YouTube. I hate that word cheat.
Yeah, I know.
I hate that word cheat meal, and this is like a part of any ideology. It just makes me feel like I'm doing something bad, and it's not that it's bad. It's like, she says treat meal.
Oh, okay.
And I feel like that has a more positive spin, and not that I want it to be something that we endorse, but I just don't like this idea of like, I'm betraying myself, really. I don't know.
Well, it actually breeds, because I was talking to a nutritionist on the podcast, and she was like, I don't like the idea of cheat meals because it makes you feel like you have to binge.
Yes, I think that's the thing that I'm trying to avoid, is just this idea of I've already screwed up, let's just keep screwing up. Whereas I'm saying, okay, I'm treating myself to this, and then I'm going to go right back to this, because you're not going to constantly treat yourself, because then that feels more like you had a splurge.
Yeah.
And yet you realize, like, okay, I had a splurge, but I'm going to go right back to this thing.
It's like shopping.
Yeah, it's like I'm not going to buy myself a Dior bag every time I go out shopping, but once in a while...
Once a quarter. No, I'm kidding.
No, but like, then this is a splurge,
yeah.
and I'm treating myself to this thing, and it feels much more like of an isolated incident, as opposed to, oh, I cheated, oh, I've already messed up, I'm going to keep messing up. This weekend, I was with my boyfriend's family up in NorCal, and we went to the Alameda County Fair. Have you ever been to a county fair?
Yeah, I love them, but it's all about eating
It's all about food. It's all carbs.
Sorry, it's all stuff that turns into...
It's all stuff that's fried. It's like deep fried cookie dough, deep fried Oreos, corn slathered in mayonnaise and dipped in hot Cheetos.
Oh, that's my favorite.
Don't even get me started. They also had like turkey legs and like sausages on a stick, and like there were options, but I was inundated with carb everywhere. Yeah. And you know what? I'm keto adapted now, which is good. So I had a bite of the things I really wanted, and you know what? It wasn't that good.
Oh, really?
Do you know what I mean? It's like...
See, my thing is, I love corn dipped in butter, dipped in mayonnaise, dipped in cheese, and the only thing bad about that is the corn. So I will tell you, I had I had 2 bites of the hot Cheeto corn. How was that? I don't like hot Cheetos.
Okay. I'm covering my nipples right now because they're like getting hard thinking about this corn. Like, it was that good. Like, this corn was unreal. But I had 2 bites. That's the fat to carb ratio on that slathered mayonnaise, like, versus in my brain, I was like, if I have 2 bites of this, I'd still be over, like, I worked out in my brain, I'm like, this is going to be worth it. And it was worth it, and I had 2 bites and I was good. I did not need the entire ear of corn to be happy. And I had the moment, and I had the treat, and then I was okay. Do you know what I mean? And then when I had the carby, deep fried cookie dough or deep fried whatever.
I don't like those.
I had a bite of it and I was like, this is not even my favorite. You don't have to go through your life thinking I'm never gonna have this thing again, but I'm so much more satisfied when I do go out of the box on my diet with 1 bite than I would be if I just went balls to the wall and just said, screw it, I'm gonna have whatever I want. Like, once you get like keto adapted, those little moments are fine. It's just making sure that they're few and far between, and that's when you have to be self-disciplined.
So I have a question. Like, once I become keto adapted, which you say around 2 to 3 months. I
think to be safe, you should be 2 to 3 months before you even play that game with yourself.
Okay.
For a lot of reasons. For the fact that it's simply your body's not keto adapted, but also the mind game that it plays on yourself if you're constantly like negotiating cheat meals and stuff once a week when you first start.
Oh no.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I just think that you're taking a risk.
But I remember you having cheat meals or cheat days even. Did you have cheat days? Or did you have
I would have a cheat meal usually.
Okay.
Yeah.
How often were those?
Once a week.
Oh, really?
Once I was keto adapted. And I'm talking
But you were on it for like...
into it for years at that point. So my body was really keto adapted, but I started incorporating more and more carbs over time, pushing the limits of how many carbs could I have, and I would do tests on it in the beginning, like how much can I have without kicking myself out of ketosis.
How do you do that?
You just play the game with yourself of either testing with keto strips or keto blood tests, and you just look at the levels. And so I slowly grew my intake from maybe 20 grams of carbs per day to like 30 or 40, and I could play in that window. Whereas I feel like when you're first starting, it's more like 20. I had a date night with my then ex-boyfriend, well, my now ex-boyfriend, and we would go to this Italian restaurant that was next to our house, and it was our favorite meal, and I'd have pasta, and I would have bread dipped in olive oil, and I would do that maybe once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks. And the rest of the time I was living super low carb, super high fat, to the point that it was a one-off. But I would say once you're keto adapted, I would start playing around with maybe just upping your daily carbs to around 30 from 20 or whatever you're doing now, 21. I would just, but you have to test so that you know, because if you can't play if you don't have the information, which is my philosophy.
Order those strips.
Yeah.
I know if I make this my norm, like the way I eat for like 3 to 4 months, those cheat meals won't kick me out of my habits. It's just like, oh, I got this and it was a special occasion. Right. And then I'll go right back into my habits. Because I am a habitual person.
Me too.
The danger is when we're traveling on vacation, because that's where I kind of can go all downhill. And if it's a 3-day vacation, it's fine. It's more when like we go somewhere, like Hawaii killed us because
all the fresh fruit and...
Well, for us, it was our honeymoon.
Oh, okay.
And we had a huge list from a local that was literally macadamia pancakes, cookies, Hawaiian traditional foods, which was delicious, and like banana wrapped rice with like pork, and we ate the entire list. So if we ever went to Italy, I'd probably be screwed.
Yes, sure. You won't be. I mean, do you think I never took a vacation in those 5 years?
No, I know you did, but I'm just saying my experience, that's when everything went downhill.
Sure. I mean, that's the kind of thing is like, there comes a time where it's like, you have to live your life. And I remember I went to New Orleans, okay, city of fried food, thick sauces, gumbos, shrimp, with rice and alcohol. Okay. And you know what? I said, fuck it. And I'm going to live this authentic experience in New Orleans as an adult, because I had been as a child, but like to be there as an adult, I wanted to do it. Yeah. And I did it. I ate everything I wanted to eat. And as soon as and the thing is, when you go from keto where you're not holding on to any water to all of a sudden eating carbs, I think that, like, don't quote me on this, but like for every carb molecule, there's like 3 water molecules attached to it. So that's why you lose all this water weight in the beginning, and all of a sudden it's like week 3 and you're like, why am I stalling? And it's because it's not because you're not losing fat, it's because that water had to go first, and now you're losing a slower rate, but it feels like all of a sudden you're just stopping when it's not that. It's just the water's all gone, and now you've exhausted all the water from being gone.
My DMs. I think I kicked myself out of ketosis, but I don't know how.
No, you're good. You're good. It's always going to be that first whoosh of water. It took a long time for your body to recognize, oh, we're going to eat like this all the time. You're not going to undo it that quickly either, and you will have a rebound of like a 5-pound gain of water. But if you go back on it, at that point your body's already keto adapted, and it's going to accept you going back into ketosis a lot quicker than it took for you to originally. You can still have those times, but it's just about being able to get back home and say, okay, now we're back on this. And being okay with that little bit of puffage on your trip. I mean, you pay to play, but it's not like you're going to all of a sudden get fat. It's going to be water, and it's going to be bloat.
Okay.
Which is just as easy to drop once you go back on at home. Do you know what I mean? Whenever I used to have a cheat day, I'm telling you, when I did have treat meals, there would be a 3 to 4 day rebound where I wouldn't feel back to how I did the day before my treat meal until like 3 days later.
Wow.
Because of the water. And I'd have like a little tum-tum. But it's water. It's water. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not fat. Just like they always say that one healthy meal isn't going to make you skinny, just like one bad meal isn't going to make you fat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It takes a long time either way. But I wanted to touch on the whoosh effect, because I think this is also important. And this kind of goes for any diet, those of you who are dieters out there. Sometimes you feel like you're in a stall, and you're like, I'm doing everything right, and I'm like staying the same weight. What is happening? And then all of a sudden, do you ever feel like then you weigh yourself and you've lost like 3 pounds?
Yeah.
And you're like, what happened? That's so weird. That's usually 99% of the time the whoosh effect. So your fat cells in your body are like water balloons. They can get smaller and bigger depending on how much water you put in them, right? The actual balloon never actually changes its size if it's empty. Your fat is a water balloon, and when you eliminate the fat, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller, right? But it's taking up space in your body. So just in case your body thinks it's a one-off, it's going to replace that fat that's being leaked out of your body and out of the balloon with water, because it wants to be able to keep the space. Because God forbid you're about to eat something crappy 5 seconds later, it's already given up that space, and it's like if you move out of your apartment, you're like, oh, by the way, I want the apartment back. And it's like, well, no, you moved out. So your body is trying to avoid having that dilemma, so it replaces it with water. So then for like 3 or 4 days, it's waiting to see if you're going to try and move back in. And then once it realizes that you're not moving back in, then it does the whoosh, and it eliminates the water. So you've already lost the fat, but you don't feel like you've lost the weight. And it's because you haven't. So the fat's gone, but the water's taken its place, and once you give it enough time to prove, I'm not coming back to this, I'm not coming back to this place, then the whoosh effect happens and it becomes a deflated balloon. But you have to wait, you have to be patient. And that's why every once in a while you'll hit a plateau whenever you're losing weight on any diet, and then there's that big drop, it's the whoosh.
Okay.
It's not necessarily because of it's waiting for you to change to having carbs again. This is just like a weight loss thing. This is why it's really hard when you lose weight on any diet. Let's say you lose 5 pounds and it's taking you a month to lose that 5 pounds. Your body, regardless of the diet you're on, it's used to you being 5 pounds heavier, and it's going to hold on to the fact that you're 5 pounds heavier, and you have to tell itself, no, this 5 pound loss is now my new weight. This is going to be the new normal, and it's not going to believe that for a bit. You have to give it some time to accept, oh, now this is our new neutral. I'm just going to use like 100 pounds just because it's an easy number to talk about. If you gained 20 pounds, the 120 becomes your new normal, and it feels like it's impossible to get back to 100 even though you were 100 your whole life, because your body's new reset on neutral is 120. So you have to trick your body, or not trick it, but you have to teach it over time when you lose weight. That's why it's so easy after you go on any sort of crash diet to gain the weight back, because your body is fighting. Your body wants to be up here because this is our neutral point, and you're fighting it, you're fighting it, you're fighting it. And you have to maintain, they say, this is so horrible, at least 3 months on a new weight for your body to accept that weight as the new normal. So that's why when people do crash diets, they never work, because they're a crash. And your body goes, oh, we're done with that now? Great, because I saved all this room. And now we're going to go right back to where we want to be.
Yeah, because my sister does these like crazy boot camp things where she was like on a tilapia diet so she dropped 22 pounds in 6 weeks.
I'm not saying it's not possible.
No, it's possible, but that 22 pounds didn't stay off.
No.
Because it was a crash diet, crash workout. Not all of it came right back, but she definitely gained a lot of it back.
It becomes way easier than it was when you started to gain weight.
So a lot of people had mentioned on my channel that they might give this a try.
That's really cool.
And
I think that's really cool.
We talked to, I have a thing. If you're going to try it, try it. Like, do it. Don't half-ass it. Don't do sort of keto. Do it. Because we mentioned you'll get fat if you don't go. It's like all or nothing. Otherwise you get fat. Just know it's a month. Just know it's a month. Like, do you know what I mean? That's how we got through it when it was hard. But what are some of the things that I think, like, common keto mistakes for those who are thinking about starting?
Well, the common keto mistake, the number one is just not getting enough fat and not trusting the process of fat is good, and just questioning everything, accidentally using low fat products, trying to eat salads all the time. I think you're going to get into a rut really quickly. I see people all the time just being like, I'm going to have a steak salad, or I'm going to have a chicken salad with like a fatty dressing. And I'm like, that's great, but like, don't be afraid to like have chicken wings as long as the sauce that's on them is keto friendly. Yeah, or like even buffalo sauce is made from Frank's Red Hot, which is carbless and butter. It's like the perfect keto thing.
That's why Chris can have that one. He just can't have barbecue. You just can't.
Barbecue's full of sugar.
Yeah.
Unless you're making them at home, and you can buy sugar-free barbecue sauces pretty much everywhere now. There's also reduced sugar ketchup if you're a ketchup fiend, because ketchup is. I hate ketchup, but people will sometimes talk to me and they're like, I can't give up ketchup. I'm like, well, what are you putting it on? You don't have fries anymore. Like, what are you putting ketchup on? So people like ketchup on their eggs. Anyway.
Hot sauce.
Me too. Trust the process is the number one thing, and make sure you're eating like bunless burgers or like things that are like high in fat, or put heavy cream, or like try to make a bulletproof coffee.
That was hard for me, I'll be honest, the bulletproof coffee in the mornings, but I got used to it. And
you have to play with your ratios too, because if you go hard in the very beginning, it's like way too thick, way too creamy. You need to have like way more coffee than like butter.
I was like, I almost threw up.
Yeah, it can be way too much for people at the very beginning, but like these are ways I'm just suggesting, or even like having like a tablespoon of like coconut oil. Like, just when in doubt, have more fat. What I would say is like the most common thing, fruit. People just being aware of like that fruit is no longer your friend, and I would just say in the first couple of weeks just to avoid completely. Well, unless you're having berries, but if you can be good with having like a few.
I counted my berries.
That's fine. Yeah. The easiest thing for me would be eggs. I like using Kerrygold butter because it's high in vitamin K and it's grass-fed butter, and that's like my go-to in the morning if you're not intermittent fasting. You were really brave and you started intermittent fasting right away, right?
Well, okay, so we accidentally started intermittent fasting while we were traveling, and then we noticed how
we
noticed how my stomach was like super like flat. Like, like a lot of my bloat had gone away because of that.
Sure.
And we were also researching while traveling what diet we're going to do when we get back, and not because we're dieters, because we needed to change our life. So keto looked like the answer, but we weren't 100% sure, and so we came back for a week, and then we were still intermittent fasting because we knew that
if you were already used to it, then that's different. But
I don't think you should do both at once.
I don't think that if you're not used to intermittent fasting, you don't need to be adding two difficult things to major lifestyle changes at once. And I would say get used to the way of eating first. Then if you can add intermittent fasting to it, then it's gonna be a 1-2 punch. It's not a necessity when doing keto, but I do think it makes a huge difference. If it's something that you think you can handle. It just makes things go by a little bit faster, and then when you have better progress, it tends to be more motivating, and you tend to do better in the long run anyway. I also recommend getting the keto strips, because there's nothing more motivating than looking at it and being like, I'm in ketosis.
I'm gonna order them tonight.
I'm also gonna say something that you might not agree with.
What?
I don't believe in, what do they call them? Exogenous ketones.
What is that?
That's when you take things that have ketones in them that supposedly help promote ketone production.
Oh yeah, okay, so I was going to ask you about that, because Chris was all about like, he was like, I want to buy this because it does this, and it's supposed to help you like create more ketones or something.
Exactly.
And I was like, so I don't know what these ketone blah blah blahs are.
So I'm going to tell you an anecdotal story.
Okay.
Which will support why I don't believe in them.
Okay.
So I bought this like ketone supplement that was still registering that I was burning ketones when I definitely, there was no way I could have been.
And you're peeing it?
Right. I was taking the supplement to see what would happen if I still ate this way, like how I was trying to eat, like low-ish carb, whatever. I mean, low fat and like all that other stuff. And I was still peeing out ketones when I wasn't in ketosis, which then gives you it's like getting a false positive on a pregnancy test.
Well,
when you're not pregnant.
But isn't it because you're taking it and it's just peeing through you?
It's just like how when sometimes you take too many vitamins and you're not having enough water, all of a sudden your pee is like a bright neon highlighter.
Yeah, that happens.
You're just peeing the vitamins out. I was just ingesting it, but I know that I wasn't in ketosis, but it was registering like a false positive.
Because it's in your body.
Because it was in my body, but I definitely wasn't burning fat. Like I just wasn't. And even if I was, let's pretend like I wasn't ever going to ever really be sure, right? Because I'm taking the supplement. Whereas if I'm just eating my foods and I'm getting a positive, I know it's because of the foods I'm eating. So I never want to add something in to where a situation where I'm trying to make sure that I'm in ketosis. Why would I add something in that's going to be a variable of whether or not this is a real positive or not?
I don't want to spend the money on it.
You don't need it, is my point. You can eat it. You can get your ketones from eating correctly. You don't need to add any extra ketones. If you're burning ketones, you're burning ketones. You're either burning ketones or you're not. It doesn't really matter at what level your ketones are coming. Like, it doesn't matter. Whether you're at a 1 or a 3 when you do the test, you're burning, and that's positive.
Okay, so
it doesn't, adding those in is just you're paying for something that you don't need to be paying for.
And they won't trick your body into ketosis.
And they will not trick your body into ketosis. It will trick trick a strip, though.
It's like a drug test.
Truly. So to me, I feel like that's a waste of money. Spend that money on grass-finished beef or quality food. Do you have any other questions? Before we wrap, I feel like this has been a very long, we could probably talk all day.
Well, because it's so in-depth, and that's the thing, it's like when Chris and I made our video, we kind of skimmed through a lot of things because one, we're not dietitians, two, like, we did our research, but we're not at a point where I feel confident to like give someone advice.
Sure.
But I think you're a great resource, so if you guys came over and were watching because you're interested, or I think one couple actually is doing it, I would recommend watching Samantha and also just following her on Instagram because she posts her food, and that's when I was like, we can have Wingstop. To Chris, like I literally was like, we can have Wingstop. He's like, no, we can't. I'm like, I promise you we can because Samantha's having it.
Yeah.
And that's when we like, and I was like, I'll prove it. So I Googled it and I showed how many total carbs, and he was just like, no freaking way. And I was like, you just can't have the barbecue, and it has to be bone-in.
Right, it has to be bone-in because 99.9% of the time, if your boneless wings are not a thing, because they're going to be, it's basically fried chicken. The problem with a lot of influencers joining on the keto bandwagon that I respect you guys a lot for is you say why you're doing a lot of these things, and you explain the science behind it. And I see a lot of people out there now that even I follow just because they're beauty influencers posting like their journey, which I think is awesome that they're doing the journey, but they're not explaining why the diet works. People follow based off of what they're seeing, and they don't realize this is something that you have to do 100% of the time and adhere to a complete lifestyle change in order to make this work. I don't feel like a lot of that information is getting put out.
It's not a fun video to watch though necessarily because we talk.
But I think that if you're trying to do it, if they are fun videos to watch because you learn along your, like, I feel like if people are on a ketogenic journey or they're even entertaining it, these two videos that we've made on your channel and my channel are going to either convince someone this is the right thing for them or this isn't the right thing for me, I'm going to try something different. And if they're already on that journey or they're on the beginning of their journey, maybe it'll answer some questions that they have. YouTube is now bigger than, like, it's the biggest search engine. So people want this information. And I think that being informed and learning and watching other people's experiences is the same reason why people like to see reviews on beauty products, because they want that information and they want to learn what your experience was on that product or that journey or whatever it is, because they value you and they value your opinion. And you know, that's why they subscribe to this channel or to your channel or whatever. I think that these are really interesting videos. I mean, they would be to me. If you came over from Serein's channel, thanks for coming. Please like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. If you are here because of me, I find that incredibly unlikely. But thanks for watching.
What are you talking about?
Because I'm just saying the chances of people coming over from your channel are much higher than people organically coming because they follow me.
No, because my channel that we put this stuff, the lifestyle channel is not like huge.
So anyway, like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'm sure that you are already coming from Serein's channel, but if not, make sure that you go like and subscribe her channel as well as her beauty channel. I will put that down below. Follow us both on Instagram. I will put mine here and hers here. And yeah, we'll catch you next time. If you have any more questions about keto, please put them down below and I will respond immediately.
Or DM you.
Or you can DM me on Instagram because now you've followed me on the Instagrams. My boyfriend's always like, the Instagrams. That's what he calls it. He's not very social media savvy.
Will you start making recipes since you're home for a little bit?
Yeah, I just posted a picture on my Insta stories of these chocolate chip cookies that I made.
I know.
That I'm going to put the recipe up for because they were nom nom nom.
I want the brownies too.
Oh, the brownies are even better. I like chocolate though, so for me that's like, but yeah, I will be posting things all the time if you're interested in recipes and such. So yeah, there will be more keto videos in the future, I can assure you. And until then, it's been fun. See you next time.
Bye.